Welcome to another episode of the Added Time video guide series. In this episode we will show you how to run a contact query and process the results. A query is a set of conditions, we call them filters, that detail how the system should extract contact information from the database. For example, we might want to extract all of the children from the system aged between 8 and 10. This would be a filter, and we would then set this up on the contact query page. We would then run this query and the system would display all of the contacts that match our filter. We can then perform an action with the results, such as sending them an email, great for marketing purposes. So let's get started by displaying the query page. Let's click on the Contacts button in the main menu and then click on the Contact Query button. The Contact Query page will then be displayed. On the left of the page, the system displays the filters currently set, and of course we have none set at present because we've only just displayed the page. On the right of the page is the page menu. You will see that we have a Set Filter button. Clicking on this shows you a list of all the filters you can set. As you can see, a pretty comprehensive list. The next button on the page menu is the Run Query button, and we click this once when we are ready to run our query. The final button in the menu is the Clear Filters button, which clears down any filters we have created. So let's go ahead and set up a query. For this example, we're going to run a query to bring back all those contacts with the surname Smith. So let's click on the Set Filter button, and for this we will need to select the Personal Details option. This pop-up screen enables us to tell the system what filters to use to extract the information for personal details. We want everyone whose surname is Smith, so that's what we enter in the surname field. Once we've done that, click on the Set Criteria button. You will now see in the query summary that our filter has been set. It goes without saying that you can set as many filters as you want to set in the query summary. Now that we've got our filter set, we can now click on the Run Query button to run the query, and we will then see the results displayed below the query summary. Let's now say we only want those contacts called Smith who are players, that is, who have been assigned the role player. Let's click on the Set Filter button and select the Roles option. Here you can see a list of the roles we've already set up for our fictitious coaching company: Coach, Inquiry, Personnel and Player. So we click on the role that we want to use as a filter. In this example, we want all of the players, so we click on Player. On the right, you will see that we can also set how the query will use our role selection. The default is Match Any. This means that if we selected more than one role to use as a filter, the system would extract anyone who matched any of the roles selected. That is, one contact might be a player, one might be a coach. But if we clicked player and coach as the ones we wanted selected, both would be returned in our query because they only have to match one of the roles selected. If we click on the Match All selection, the system would now only bring us back a contact if they had both of the roles that we've selected, coach and player. Anyone with just one of these would not be extracted and therefore would not appear in our results. The final button, Match None Selected, would mean that the system would only extract contacts who did not match any of the roles selected, that is, they are not assigned to either player or coach. As you can see, this makes the query tool very powerful. For the purposes of this demo, we are just going to select player and tick Any, and then click on the Set Criteria button. You can now see our new filter in the query summary. Therefore, this query should only extract those contacts whose surname begins with Smith and who is assigned the player role. Let's run the query. We now have 7 contacts brought back. Let's say we now only want to bring back those contacts who are actually living in Shropshire. We can see from the results that this should bring back only one result, Shelley Smith. Let's click on the Set Filter button and select the Personal Details option again. We can see our county field, so that's where we type the word Shropshire. We now click on Set Criteria. You will now see a summary of our filters in the Query Summary section. Let's now run the query again. As you can see, it has brought back what we expected, just Shelley Smith. She is the only person who matches the 3 filters we've set for this query. To remove a filter, just use the Set Filter button again, call up the appropriate filter and just remove it. We're going to remove the Shropshire filter. Now we're going to run the query again. To the right of the results bar is the Results Action menu. In the version of the system you can see we have 4 options available. We could export the results to a CSV or Excel file, delete all of the contacts from the system, or we could send them all an email. We can also unselect all of the results brought back by the query. In other versions of the system you can also send the contacts in the results a text message or change a global field for all of them. The action you take will be carried out on all of the results which have their Include box ticked. All of the boxes are ticked by default when you run a query. You can then manually untick contacts that you don't want included in the action you're about to undertake. For example, I want to send all of them an email, but I don't want it sent to Kate Smith, so I would untick her Include box. Now, clicking on the Send Email button will display the Send Email page, and it will link all of the required contacts to my email. If you click on the Show All, you'll see the 6 names we had in our query. Details of how to use the Send Email page can be found as another episode in this video series. If I go back to the query, you will see it's remembered the last set query. I can then run the query again. In the Enterprise version of the system, you can also save queries, making it very easy to bring back regularly used queries. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we hope you found it useful. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter full of tips and hints on how to get the best out of added time at www.intoaddedtime.com.